Hello, YouTube. My name is Plazukas, and thank you for my 3-week vacation on YouTube. It's been a great yet busy time off. I am now officially moved into my new place, and I want to thank everybody for being very patient for my next video, which is starting right now. And let me be very clear. I have not watched a lot of this coverage, but I have seen the highlights recently of the H3H3 lawsuit and how these content creators are now going to establish a new precedent because they are corporations who are basically becoming the predominant way to make money and to shill advertisers and suing other people for doing reaction content. Now, I agree that the entire ecosystem of this business has been thrown every sideways, up, down, left, right. And that if there's a way to make money, if there's a way to scam viewers or the community, these people will do it. And most of the time, they get away with it and they get a huge bag because of it. They know this. I know this. So when you come and you either threaten lawsuits or you actually sue, it's just another step in trying to establish them as a monopoly, as a corporation, as what they are ultimately, and that is someone that doesn't want to be criticized. They want to make all the money. They want all their community to only listen to them, the echo chamber. They don't want any kind of freedom of speech. They don't want any kind of extra dialogue or anything else. Even if, let's say, the criticism is fair about these content creators who are trying to take away views, potentially, or reacting in a way that just seems disingenuous, right? Or walking away when a video is playing of that other content creator and they're just not even reacting to it, and therefore, is it fair use? Is it not? However, if you're going to be so petty as Ethan Klein, as the Tectones of the world, and go after these people, Tectone threatening someone like me, a 2K sub, for being sued or taking down my stuff for copyright, that indicates so much about who they are as a person and not necessarily the content creators who are reacting or making videos about the content creators, although we all are fair to be criticized. And so today I thought, well, we're going to come back. What's the most recent controversy videos that are circulating? And apparently it's this Ludwig thing that happened in Tectone's orbit, because there are plenty of people who despise Tectone. They don't even take in consideration all the allegations against him. They just don't even like his content, period. They've never understood how a gotcha content creator could be as successful and relevant, just like we saw in the previous OTK community, where all those people were dissing Tectone as not even being like a legitimate member, right? Because they just didn't understand the gotcha community. But in reality, the gotcha community is like the gambling community. And now that he's on Kick, or he was on Kick, I'm not even sure if he still is. Well, let's just say he is, just because I haven't kept up to date. Or any of the other Rumble, affiliates where they all do gambling. It's the right home for him, specifically for the community that he is trying to advertise for, those that are susceptible, those that are unfortunately underage. And so let's get to this video now and let's react to it. And we might actually dip into the other video just to get some context, because I don't know all the Ludwig stuff. I watched about 5 minutes of this video and then about 2 minutes of the other one, or maybe a little bit more, just to kind of get some idea, just to see if I wanted to cover this. And Tectone, I know this is becoming a new precedent for content creators who have established themselves as a monopoly or a legitimate business or a corporation, whatever, okay? An executive, a CEO of their brand. Sue me if you want. If you consider this malicious, I'm not trying to take away your views. God knows that will never happen. 33% of people support Trump. Whatever your 3,000 people, your CCVs, they support you. And they will, regardless of what you do. You could literally do what you're alleged to have done on stream in front of them, and they still would love you. Just saying.
Hey, YouTube, what's going on?
Hi.
Today is actually going to be a little bit different from my normal videos.
Okay.
Unfortunately, a content creator by the name of Ludwig has invoked my name.
Wow. But you're sounding like me, like tripping up on your words and stuff. Can you like, I don't know, be more professional? Do better at your job instead of acting like an amateur?
And Ludwig has enough
Oh, yeah,
viewers
blah,
where
blah,
I'll
blah.
actually give a fuck.
Well, I mean, let's be very clear, okay? You literally react to my videos, and I'm like the lowest CCV relevant person in the entire universe, and you take a special interest in my videos. So you saying that because he's relevant, therefore you will respond to him. No, that's not the reason entirely. You're just narcissistic. You'll do it to everybody. And unfortunately, hopefully you're still in therapy, but apparently you're still not, because if you were, you wouldn't be doing this. You just be focusing on what makes your brand more successful. And it's not necessarily this.
Because blasting me in front of that many people, well, obviously I got to say something, right? Obviously I got to say something.
You don't have to say anything. You can just literally let it go.
So we're going to say something. Now, I would like to pretense this. I know there's a lot of people who don't like Ludwig right now. I know that that's...
Well, that's convenient. The last time you went on this whole criticizing bandwagon, it was against someone else that was not viewed well in the community. So therefore, it is extremely convenient to have had this luck to where you can just pile on again when someone is down.
how it is. And I know for me, it's very beneficial for me to say, oh, I fucking hate Ludwig. The guy's a piece of shit. The guy's a rat. And to be honest, I did say the rat, but
Of course you did. Of course you did. Although, technically speaking, you may be the biggest rat in this entire space, in the content creation, ecosystem. If we take what you do on Discord and how you leak things and how you talk behind people's backs, speculatively based on other people's, conversations that I've had that, you've obviously talked about stupidly. So probably you're the biggest rat. So okay, so you're the rat king and Ludwig is like your little minion rat. And I would, in most cases when you're dealing with like the FBI and stuff like that, they're trying to go after the kingpin. So if I were, let's say, Twitch or some other form of social media or someone that's going to criticize somebody, you'd want to go after the kingpin, which in this case is the Rat King, often called Tectone. Andrew Tate, I guess Donald Trump like person.
that's just for clickbait. That's just for views. You know how that goes.
Do we know how that goes? Is that the game that should be established here? How petty is that? You're 30 years old. You said you want to start a family and a kid. Okay, criticizing me. I don't have those goals. I don't want those goals. That's on you, buddy. And each to their own goals and stuff like that. Why don't you act a little bit more mature, man? Why don't you start making content that is productive so that when your kids grow up, they can look back at it and say, you know what, I'm proud of my father. Instead of this dribble, this drab, this cesspool of stuff.
Completely honest, I was actually a big fan of Ludwig for quite a while. To be honest,
I'm a big fan of everybody. I was a big fan of Hassan, too. I used to, technically be on stream with him with OTK and stuff like that. And then whenever it's convenient for me to pile on and to essentially bring them down a couple notches because they want to criticize me, because they want to take away my one or two viewers that are associated with their channel and my channel, because there's not much correlation there between Ludwig's community and Tectone's. There's not many people bleeding over between the two communities. Let's be very clear. So whatever Ludwig says about Tectone is not going to be relevant to his success. And yet they still want to act like it is. They still want to act like that's the issue. It's not the issue. It's just fucking petty ass shit, of someone that wants to start a family and have kids. Have better goals, my friend.
I still think he's honestly a pretty okay guy. Not really as much as he used to be, but honestly, I got no issues with the guy. But recently, I did a little bit of calling him out. I did a little bit of calling.
Oh, so you called him out first, and then when that got back to him, which is obviously petty as well, he decided to respond to your content as a reaction, and therefore you're going to use this as content for yourself, just like you've used all your Twitch bans, just like you use, all the feigning victims that you do whenever you're accused of something, and yet you start these things. You start these things. You're talking about something that you started because you called him out, because you talked about his issues. And you don't want other people talking about your issues when they come up, but you're going to talk about all the drama because guess what, Tectone? You are a petty, Rat King, Andrew Tate drama farmer who does not play video games, who uses their music and acts like you're a fan of Expedition 33 for clout or whatever, Oblivion for clout, or for people to kind of feel nostalgic about the music in the background because they actually play the video games, Honkai Star Rail Genshin. You'll use that to leverage your viewership and your success. What a fucking low life thing to do. What a and you're going to be a father? You're going to be a husband? Ugh. I don't know. Okay. Let's move on.
Out because the events that occurred on his stream made me a little bit sick. They made me a little bit upset, and
Oh, really? I mean, I seen the context of what Ludwig is basically dealing with backlash from, and it's not good. Obviously, an alcoholic being invited to a party with other content creators, obviously, and basically admitted to the fact that he is an alcoholic, while essentially admitted him to like a beer fucking, I don't know, stream or whatever stupid shit that Ludwig does on any given time, to build his clout or to fucking who fucking knows what these content creators do behind the scenes. Your imagination times the depravity of our current culture times money and greed, you can just imagine that amalgamation of decrepit nature that they involve themselves in. I'm no fan of basically any content creator per se, and yet here's the person who's often tried to say, "Don't talk about me. Don't assume anything until you talk to me on DMs or you understand the full picture." And obviously, the Ludwig situation is whatever it is, but at the same time, okay, if you're going to compare apples to apples, then you being, allegedly an abuser and someone saying that is pretty clear cut as well. So two are in the same vein.
Shook me to my core. And the reason why it bothered me so much is due to the fact that I had that pre-existing respect for Ludwig, that pre-existing affinity for Ludwig. I mean, I even used to steal the guy's thumbnails and titles. Absolutely, I 100% did. I used to consume his content all the time. I watched that whole damn sub.
Well, of course you did. We've already established through many, many videos and stupidity on your streams that you'll do anything to make the extra buck.
When he was sleeping in that race car bed. And I think a lot of people are currently disappointed in Ludwig's actions. And the fact that he won't take accountability for them is honestly quite disheartening.
Sounds like somebody I know. Starts with a T, ends with an E.
We're going to break this down bit by bit. I'm going to show you the call out. The reason why I'm making this video, I was going to make one and leave it alone because I don't really consider Ludwig a threat to the streaming space like I do other people that I frequently make content on. I'm not a guy who wants drama with anybody.
Right. The ones that you basically debase and disenfranchise and discredit, like your OnlyFans, like the sexual innuendos that you tried, in this time unsuccessfully, to get your suspension lifted, And they said no. And it's because of sexual requests, graphic or derogatory sexual statements, or unwanted sexual content. And this time you're having to face the full extent of your ban. And yet you will become even more successful because you are a martyr. And just like Trump winning the presidency, because he was considered the martyr, because he was considered anti establishment, trying to, stick it to the man, so to speak, political correctness, all this stuff. I get it. I understand the culture that we live in. Congratulations. Keep on riding that bandwave. Keep on riding that momentum, that 1 million subs on your YouTube video. All that stuff is great. And to be honest, if God doesn't exist, if karma does not exist, if all these things don't exist, and the real, I guess, incentive or the real determination of what is right and wrong is money, and how you acquire it, no matter how you acquire it, then yeah, you're winning. And only time will tell that. So I guess you're winning currently.
And everybody. I never want to be that drama at all. I just want to correct the bully's behavior in this space, which is why I like calling out all of the problematic people, the people giving people false accusations, false allegations.
Well, you haven't, as far as I understand, and I haven't kept up with it in the last 3 weeks, you haven't countersued. You haven't, sent a cease and desist. Now, obviously, I went on Pink Shoes before this video and I looked to see if there's any updated tweets, and there isn't. So maybe that's been happening on the background and behind the scenes. I doubt it. But you don't do your due course in trying to correct this behavior as well. And until you do, then you deserve to have people who are potentially, in your orbit or have taken an interest in you because you take an interest in other people as well, and you do other things as well. So therefore, freedom of speech and all of that, and fair use, all of that, it does matter currently. It may not matter in the future, but it does right now, until, the whole entire government's run by the state and we become an oligarchy, and we live in a very restricted space where you can't have these conversations anymore. Until that day, here I am. This conversation is going to continue.
Promoting terrorism, saying horrific things about people's dead relatives, implying that people
I have no idea what the context is for that last statement.
are criminals on baseless claims.
Again, how baseless is those claims when they're being investigated by the police by your own admission? You have not countersued. You have not done anything that you could do with your well-established wealth and credibility, apparently. Credibility. Although in Austin, that is still questionable. Although I can't speak to your credibility in Austin, Texas specifically.
Those are the people that I consider threats. However, Ludwig was a very, very, very small man yesterday, so let's go ahead and talk about it. And I want to make this very clear.
Yeah.
Ludwig, if you do see this, and this does hurt your
He's not going to see it.
feelings, I mean,
He might hear of it from his community, from his mods, but he probably won't see it.
I guess it is what it is.
Because there's very few people that actually want to look at or consume your content, Tectone. And I will be honest, I think the last video that I made, or the one just before that, it was insufferable to watch even the little bit that I had to watch in order to make that video. And I'm glad I took 3 weeks off, because coming back now, I feel so invigorated and not affected by the tone of your voice and by how you conduct yourself. And this is not malicious. This is just very constructive criticism about the fact that you take testosterone, you sip whatever drinks you do to make your voice sound the way it does, and obviously it doesn't make you act well, although I guess steroids technically, or some form of testosterone or enhancements can do that to some extent, although the research is kind of limited. You do it on your own volition, your attitude, your demeanor, and stuff like that, which you can change if you wanted to, which hopefully you are seeking therapy to do so.
I want to let you know, I'm not sitting here talking about false accusations. I'm not sitting here talking about false allegations. I'm not doing anything speculative.
And I'm not doing that. I'm not doing any of that either. Let the record be very clear. I'm not doing that either. when I report Ping Chu's statements on tweets, or if another content creator, or if I do an interview, or if I have background on something and I speak about it, that is me obviously reporting on something that is valid and truthful. So fair is fair, my friend. Fair is fair.
Speculative. What I am doing right now is I'm doing a thorough breakdown on objectively what you did that is on stream that is proven by your own actions.
And you also have done things on stream in relation to the Ping Chu, saying that she didn't pay rent or that she did pay rent, whatever the context was. Specifically, it was on stream. That has been used in the last documentary that we had on. I think that was like now it's at 20 something thousand. A great documentary that I really do recommend everybody go watch about Tectone specifically, and that was one of the clips that was used in that, and it's been used in many other content creators examples to prove that it happened on stream. All this stuff that you're bringing up is happening to you, and yet you're going to talk about this. So maybe you, if you don't want people to talk about your issues, should stop talking about other people's issues as well. But that's not the game, is it, Tectone? No, 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 no. You want to say everything that you want to say and not have any restrictions at all from Twitch, from the Constitution, from criticism. But if anybody else does, that's the issue. That's the problem. Which may speak to more of a personal, unresolved issue that you need treatment for. I'm just saying in general. I'm not specifically, trying to diagnose anything. I'm just talking out loud of my opinion.
You want to make a follow-up video shit talking me, you're more than welcome to. If you want to make a video,
you would love that. You would love that. Although I will say your communities will not ever most likely integrate. So there's no reason, there's no benefit to you to talk about Ludwig. No.
Talking about all of the horrible shit that everybody fucking does that's been pulled out of their ass, you're more than welcome.
And it's not been pulled out of our ass. We have legitimate reasons to criticize you, Tectone, and to suggest that you potentially are someone that abuses individuals. In your rhetoric, the reason why you're banned on Twitch recently is in line with those allegations and with that kind of behavior. Just saying.
Welcome to. You wanted to stay away from drama, and sure, I don't know if Hassan will approve of you making that video, but if you do get your dad...
And this has a lot of ramifications and correlations with his community. Hassan has looked like a boogeyman in his community. Asmongold, they've already established that. They've leveraged that effectively, by the way. So now whenever they want to demean people, they'll use Hassan, just like when they want to demean OnlyFans, they'll use their rhetoric. It's tried and true. It's the Andrew Tate, Donald Trump playbook that is being used often. It's sad, but true.
His permission, then sure, go ahead. You can do that. That's a little bit of a joke. I know that probably pissed you off. But let's go ahead and get into this shit right now. So last night, Ludwig goes live with C-Dog VA. He goes ahead and he says this.
I don't know who C-Dog VA is. I don't even know who Ludwig is personally. I might have watched one or two of his videos. I don't watch a lot of content. I watch a very specific list of content creators that I find to be about content predominantly, although they do bleed into the whole parasocial stuff. And that's it. That's all I do. I'm not saying that is for everybody. I'm just telling you what I do.
Enable game chat. It's actually one of my greatest pleasures.
Now, I would like to pretense this with C-Dog VA is currently 1-3. They're losing very hard. The enemy is up.
I mean, shoutcasting this game right now is kind of hypocritical because you don't actually play video games. So, yeah, maybe C-Dog is losing real bad right now, and that's worth criticism, but not by you because you don't play video games. You're the furthest away from a gamer that I probably know, and that is as relevant in the space. In the gacha, obviously, it's not. It's like gamer adjacent, okay? It's like gamer and then gotcha's like in the middle of gamer and gambling. It's somewhere in between there. Okay. And listen, this is someone that played gotcha because I was disenfranchised by the, gaming ecosystem for a long time, and I still am to some extent. But Nintendo Switch 2, they're a recent single player, double down for Sony and stuff like that is made me very optimistic. But easy games, accessibility, games for everyone, that's just disheartening. I don't like that either, and I want that to go away. I don't think this genre or this hobby should be for everybody. Ultimately, I think that does dilute the actual artistic integrity of something. But I went to Gotcha for that reason, for many reasons, and I had a lot of fun. But at the same time, those systems are bad, and they've gotten worse in some cases. So, but you don't even play those games, Tectone. So you're like more of a gambler than you are a gamer. Just saying.
7 kills. They're both probably miserable as fuck. And as well as they're playing League of Legends, which means they're most likely on suicide watch enough as it is. I don't know how much money you would have to pay me to play League of Legends on stream. Jesus.
Please, Riot, NetEase, or whatever company owns Riot, do not pay this man. Do not sponsor him for any of your game's content. You don't want to be associated with this person, in my opinion. Now, obviously, I don't want to be sued for that. I don't want this to be malicious or defamatory. I'm just saying, from a general spectator, a viewer of Tectones from time to time, I don't want to have to. I don't want to have to see this person being sponsored because his sponsored streams look a lot like zooming in on boobs, okay, or other areas and reacting like a child to children. And if you want to be associated with that, fine, sponsor someone like Tectone. I recently, it was like a month ago, I saw one of a sponsored streams or one of the sponsors, you like it, like ads, because I don't always have premium and I don't have ad block at all. And it was Tectone playing that he was sponsored stream at that time, and now the company's using it in their ads. He was playing some, I can't remember the game, but he was just like, ugh, overly animated is exactly what they want for sponsored content. He knows it. That's what they pay him for, and it just invokes childish behavior. And he's going to be a father, apparently, and a husband. So, I mean, that means it's going to be completely healthy I mean, in my opinion, right? You can go from that to being a productive member of society and having good morals and ethics and raise children. I'm positive that can happen.
Christ, haven't done that in years. But usually this is how you know someone has chronic clinical depression. Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Oh, you can't hear it? Great. Let me pull up another clip then.
Enable game chat. It's actually one of my greatest pleasures that I get to die never having to speak to these people.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a Tectone video. I can die never watching one.
Yeah. And I'm going to be honest with you. Having covered Tectone for over a year now, I would agree that, and this is not, and again, I know H3 Ethan is suing other people for being malicious and taking away their views and or being malicious in that intent. That's not my intent here. Is not to take away from viewers of Tectone. If you want to go watch Tectone, by all means, please go watch him. I'm not gonna ever suggest otherwise definitively, to the point where I could be, vulnerable to a lawsuit. But I would agree with Ludwig. You're not missing out if you never watch a video from someone like Tectone. You're not. Because literally, it does not matter. And it's literally as if you are going down a conspiratorial chain of events that if it even has like 1% of truth to it, which it really doesn't, it's not worth to try to get that amount of truth from it. 99% of it is all just hyperbolic, misinformation that does not have any relevancy to, games, uh, to current events, to politics. It just doesn't. Now, I can't say that about Asmongold, but the problem with Asmongold is he's become this political commentator, and I can't recommend watching him. Although, if you do want to watch Asmongold, and I do think, and I have not watched any of his content in a while, but like 3 to 4 hours into his streams, he usually does play video games. And therefore, I can recommend those portions normally if you're interested in that, because that does pertain to game and that is content that I would say is most likely entertaining. The other stuff, no, it's not. I mean, Asmongold can say some politically relevant things. I'm not disagreeing or overly dismissing his takes. There are takes that Asmongold has that are relevant, that are culturally, appropriate for the time. But there's a lot of other things that are in that also that are just misinformation, that are biased, and that I do think, given enough time and clarity, and it not seem like it's just a popularity contest, I don't even think Asmongold would have the same impression. Hopefully not, unless of course he has other motives, which could be possible. And that's the same with Hassan. Hassan's not a gamer. Hassan's a political commentator who's trying to be an activist, who is a bad activist, unfortunately. And there are better alternatives to that. And unfortunately, there's a fringe enough base to where I couldn't recommend anybody, because if you get somebody that's a complete activist, then there might be too fringe worthy to watch because they have views that are just way too out there. And they're emboldened, or they're trying to do it for money, or all the wrong reasons instead of the right ones. And you really need somebody like that is willing to talk about stuff in the middle ground, which is not always that entertaining to watch, and yet it's extremely useful and informative. And even they can be wrong, and that's the reality. That's the situation that we live in. But in Tectone's case, nah. You'd be better off not watching his content, in my personal opinion. But please do watch Tectone on Twitch.com, Tectone on YouTube, Tectone on Kick. He's on Kick. He's on Twitter. Predominantly, go watch him on Kick or Twitter. I think specifically those two places are the best places to view Tectone, because they align politically, they align personally with who Tectone is as a person. Someone that is conspiratorial and associated with gambling, which both Kick and Twitter have a lot of those in spades. My name is Bazookas. We will not finish this video because I don't have to. I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. Bye for now.